right. Right now, that 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
Taiwan's president has departed for a Pacific visit with a 2-day stop in the U.S. And China isn't happy.
Taiwan's President Lai is departing for a trip to the South Pacific, including a 2-day transit in the U.S., his first since becoming president. And the planned stopovers in Hawaii and the territory of Guam are already drawing critical reaction from China. Beijing claims Taiwan as its own territory and objects to official exchanges between it and the U.S., the islands, and its natural military provider. Trade sees Taiwan's president visit the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, and Palau, and it's unclear whether he'll meet with members of the
Joey, how are you, my friend?
administration during the transit.
I'm yellow, Chuck is red.
Yellow and red.
Explosions damaged a water canal and temporarily cut water.
You got love notes?
Yeah, a couple of them. Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
By Serbia, the charge denied by Belgrade. He says the explosion disrupted water supply in some cities and main power plants. More analysis and news at townhall.com. Southwest Airlines ended its cabin service earlier, beginning in some places.
Beginning on December 4th, flight attendants will begin preparing the cabin for landing at an altitude of 18,000 feet instead of the current 10,000 feet. The company says it's making those changes to reduce the risk of in-flight turbulence injuries. For passengers, that means they'll need to return their seats to an upright position or do other pre-landing procedures earlier than before. While turbulence-related fatalities are quite rare, injuries have piled up.
Swanscott, they gave up like 80 points to football.
You gonna do it on your phone?
I'm gonna do it on the computer this time because
Their to-do list includes
So, read that letter. Read the love note later, okay? And here's your love note. I think that's my love note.
Atop that list is a plan to reduce up $4 trillion in expiring tax cuts.
Now watch out for the shrinkage here.
I'm Ron Taylor.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host
Yellow.
and do not express
Tony's back, huh? He's back up from Florida.
or Hometown Talk Radio.
I heard him last
Content
week
on all programs are those
interviewing
of the
John
host
McCall.
and their guests.
Who's John McCall?
He's a city, he's been a city council for a while. Yeah, he's actually a very nice guy. I know he's from Lynn, Mass.
Oh, that's an North Shore guy. Yeah.
I mean, what's happening in Middleboro and surrounding towns? It's time for the Middleboro Week in Review with your host, Joey Driscoll. Stay tuned for news, Middleboro news.
And good morning, welcome to Middleboro in Review. I am Joey Driscoll. Today is December 1st, 2024. It is the first day of December. Wow. Unreal that it is only about 4 weeks away until 2025. Want to welcome in our guest for today, Chuck Hart. Once again, good morning, Chuck.
Always good to be here on December the 1st. I took a walk this morning. It was 25 degrees, John, when I took my walk.
And Don, of course, good morning. How are you?
Happy December 1st. The reason it's a shock that it's December 1st because it's been so warm and mild. So when we start getting 30-degree weather and possibly snow, it's a hard reality because it's been so nice and it's getting tough to translate, translate, so do that or do this.
Yeah.
You have to deal with the weather, but that's what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right, our today in history is today, December 1st, 1918. Iceland becomes a sovereign state, yet remains a part of the Danish kingdom. 1924, today is a big day for the Bruins. The National Hockey League's first United States-based franchise, the Bruins, play their first game in league play at home at the still open Boston Arena. That is now their indoor practice facility now, I believe. 1969. the Vietnam War, the first draft lottery in the United States is held since World War II. By the way, going back to the Bruins, they will take on the Montreal Canadiens this afternoon. I believe the game is at 3 o'clock. Again, it is the Centennial game. I believe it's at home. So it'll be a big one later on today. We'll talk about that more later. 1912, this is now birthdays. Minoru Yamasaki, American architect. He designed the World Trade Center, the original World Trade Center.
Right.
1940, Richard Pryor, American comedian, actor, producer, and screenwriter. Very funny actor.
The
though.
best.
He's awesome.
The best.
Silver Streak with Gene Wilder. Oh my God, that movie was awesome.
And he and Gene they did Silver Streak, and they did, I think they did 4 movies together. But Silver Streak, 1976, was when my parents took me to see it at the Surf Theater in Swampscott, Massachusetts. I would have been, because it came out in 1976, so I was like 8, and it was one of my all-time favorite movies. It's aged well, too. You can't find it as much, but Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder were like comedic gold, those two together.
Oh, those guys were awesome. Gene Wilder, I just love him.
Brilliant,
Anyway.
absolutely brilliant. Died of Alzheimer's. As my dad battles Alzheimer's. There's on Netflix. There's a movie about Gene Wilder, but we digress. But one of my favorites. I loved him in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I loved him so much that he'd stir crazy. He just did so many great things.
Yeah, no, he was class act in my opinion.
Born on this day in 1944, Eric Bloom, American singer, songwriter, and guitarist for the band Blue Oyster Cult, who has been around for a very long time. Since 1967, actually. Prior to being Blue Oyster Cult, they went by a couple of other names, but they've been around quite a long time. Actually, they just put out their last album. Well, everyone says it's their last album, but we'll see. But Ghost Stories in 2024, they put out their last album, but they came back in 2020 with a great album, The Symbol Remains. It's an amazing album. You should check that out. But they've been around for quite a long time, Blue Oyster Cult. But Eric Bloom is 80 today. Another great musician. Born on this day in 1944 as well. John Densmore, the drummer of the band The Doors. And he is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame along with the rest of the band as well. The Doors, a great band. They were able to accomplish so much in just a short amount of time. They only put out 3 albums, I think, Don.
3 or 4, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And our passings today, 1 year ago today, Sandra Day O'Connor passed away, the first female U.S. Supreme Court Justice from 1981 to 2006. She passed away on this day 1 year ago today. And now our weather real quick here. Let me get this up. Our weather. Let's see, Middleboro first. Let's see. We got 23 degrees, a high of 39 with a low of 19 tomorrow. A low of 17 with a high of just 40. It's going to get pretty cold pretty quick here in Middleboro. And it doesn't look like it's going to warm up. I think this is it. We're going to be cold until March. So, maybe it'll surprise us and warm up again. But
we've got spoon-fed nice weather for so long. It's time to
Gotta ante up.
Exactly.
Pay the pipe up.
pay the piper. You're right.
25 degrees in Taunton. Going to be sunny today. No rain in the forecast. No rain really at all until Thursday.
That means no snow.
Yeah, it's looking like on Thursday we might get a mix.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't stick.
Yep. So
I always worry about elderly.
Yeah.
I always worry about people who hurt themselves in the snow. I mean, I know it's pretty, but it's not pretty for somebody who has to
It is
move
not.
it. There's
No.
heart attacks, there's slips, there's accidents. I mean, I don't know. Go to the mountains for snow, but when you have a big city and you have got a big metropolis like this area, snow's not needed.
Driscoll, Texas, 60 degrees, a high of 73 today. It's gonna It's going to rain every single day this week. Not going to see any sun at all in Driscoll, Texas. The only day it might not rain is Wednesday. But rain every single day up until next week, next Sunday. So that's a pretty bad stretch of weather there in Driscoll, Texas. But it's still kind of warm. So, at least there's that. In Driscoll, Texas. Driscoll, North Dakota here. Let's see. What do we have for Driscoll, North Dakota? 0.
Here's the cliff. We're always talking about Driscoll, North Dakota when it gets pushed off the cliff weather-wise. And I think it is now.
0. A high of 10 today and a low of 0. So we're at the low. 10 tomorrow with a low of just 2. And then it warms back up, 28 degrees with a low of 27. And then right back down, 26 degrees for the high on Wednesday, with snow in the forecast, -1 for the low. So it gets colder than that.
I like the idea that you do that because I don't feel so bad about the weather here.
All right, 7:15 a.m. When we come back, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving football. A lot of interesting things going on.
And you got a couple love notes to read.
Yes, we will do that.
2 love notes from Paul as weekly love notes we call them.
So we'll read them now, and then.
That's turkey related.
Well, we'll let these marinate when it comes to our answers.
All right, yeah, okay.
During the break here. So here is our questions from our Paul Lazarovich here. We have: what was your favorite side dish on Thanksgiving? What traditions do you follow? And for me and Don, our next train trip.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all of that coming up here in our next segment.
You could digest that.
Yes, so we'll talk about all of that coming up in our next segment here on Middleboro Review on WVBF 1530 AM 99.7 FM. We'll be right back.
That was perfect about the marinating. That guy that you had on last weekend was so interesting. I listened to that whole thing. He was so
Danny?
Yeah, really
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah.
When he mentioned sinkholes, I had that visual of Florida has a lot of problems with sinkholes.
Yeah, but when the sinkholes open up on the railroad, that's not good. He has a video actually.
You're saying that.
I'll text you one of the videos.
I appreciate that.
And you can.
I'd love to take a train ride with you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm being serious. I was when I saw that movie. So Silver Streak was filmed in Canada. A lot of people don't realize that. But the Canadians don't charge as much to do filming stuff.
Good morning, Scott.
In Canada, because we're supposed to go from like what was it, from Chicago to Los Angeles in the movie.
Yeah.
But it was all filmed in Canada.
Right.
It was all the Canadian airline. I wanted to go from. My goal was to go across Canada with my dad and my mom. And of course, because they fed it, but they weren't going to really. And I moved on to the next thing. But
Yeah, we just
trains have always fascinated
we just
me.
do it, even though it's not feasible. We do it anyway.
Why isn't it feasible?
No, I mean because it's always, it's always a pain. It's always this,
Have you put your car on the train, the one that you can put a car on? My
No,
neighbor
but
did.
it's funny you ask. Is I'm helping my brother drive his. He's working down in Naples for 6 weeks, and I'm helping him drive his truck
And
down.
what was the name of that muffin place that you mentioned? You went to some. No, apple pie. What was the name of the apple pie? Is it good?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You were the star of the day, huh?
Yeah.
Not every hero wears a cape.
Well, Danny said, bring home some.
And I like how you said he paid. That's pretty cool that he took. That he paid for lunch. And,
Yeah, paper clip, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, when I go down there in May, he's retiring because he works for Fox 13. He's the voice of Fox 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How'd you meet him?
I met him just watching his videos, and then Joey emailed him, and he emailed back.
I love gracious people.
Yeah, well,
I
you know
love
what?
people to take the time to be
We
gracious.
email a lot of YouTube people,
Never
like
hear
4 or
back.
5. You never hear back. You hear back from this guy.
That just, that just shows he's a kind, compassionate, caring human being that appreciates people.
falls out.
Yeah, that's like so important.
I mean, he says he's going to answer the email. He's not full of stuff in there, right?
And going to Disney, you mentioned like would the train ever go to Disney?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
No.
I don't even think it should go anywhere.
Joey, I do have a bone to pick with you, so at some point in time that has to be addressed because I don't want to have resentment towards you.
Yeah.
I don't want to end the year with resentment.
But he's not going to care. He doesn't care. He's Gemini, isn't he?
You know? All right.
Let's do that
Let's
next.
see. Let's see.
Let's do that next.
All right, under the bus. I guess it's the segment called Under the Bus.
This is the under the bus.
It is Under the Bus segment. When you throw a loved one under the bus.
Are we on?
No, 3, 2, 1, 0. And we're back here on Middleboro Review on WBBF 1530 AM 99.7 FM.
99.7 FM.
I'm going to hand the mic over to Chuck for a second.
Yeah, Joey, I have a bone that I want to pick with you.
A bone or bus? Or?
Bus. Yeah, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but this is very sensitive.
You are, you do.
Well, John, it needs to be processed. When I came in, I'm very upset, Joey, and I need to process this with you because I don't want resentments going into 2025.
Yeah.
How does your father take his coffee? No, don't look. How does he take it?
No milk, right? Just milk, right? Just milk. Yeah.
So are you going to stick with that? Are you going to
Yes,
stay with that?
I'm gonna stick with it.
Just milk.
I'm
I
gonna
mean, you
stick
knew
with
how you took your coffee. Do you know how I take my coffee?
What?
How do I take it?
I don't know.
I'm not going to come to the show anymore if you don't know how I take my coffee.
Yeah.
Your father takes one Splenda. That's a deal breaker.
Once.
That's a deal breaker. You forgot the Splenda.
We got the one
No, you did. That's a deal breaker as far as
It's got to
I'm
be
concerned.
splendorous about my splendor.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I could have come here today without Splenda, and it would have been a failure, an epic failure. You need to know more about your father's
But you know
coffee
what? I know his attitude. He'd be like, I take it regular and I'm easy. Because my brother said the same. He's like, can you just take it regular? It's like, no. Can you just remember?
All right, so moving forward, can you make a commitment to me that you now remember it's light in the milk?
Yeah.
And you were right about that, and you were right about what milk, but you just got to remember the Splenda. And
I
then-
will write that down.
There'll be a test night in 6 months.
It'll be a test.
6 months. When is 6 months? So like something like May the 1st, I'm going to ask you again.
Yeah.
There'll be a test. All right, that sounds good.
Not for nothing. You should remember too, right? No?
All right.
You should have text you.
Well, when he said to me, I said, no, this isn't right. And then I went back and I looked at your old text, and
Yeah.
you said the Splenda. I knew there was something,
But I mean,
but it's okay.
there's something about special Sunday morning coffee.
Let's go back to the marination.
Right, let's rapid fire these questions here. First question: what was your favorite side dish on Thanksgiving? Chuck.
What it should have been was squash. My wife forgot to make it, but I'll forgive her because she had her gallbladder taken out the day before. Potatoes. I'm a big potato guy with butter, lots and lots of butter, and we didn't have enough butter in the household too. We had you talk about missing Splenda.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough butter, and we didn't have She forgot the squash. She left it, but to get back to the point, mashed potatoes.
Don.
Only one or two?
However many you want. I don't think there's.
Mashed potatoes and lots smothered with gravy. I want the gravy dripping on the floor.
It's gonna be good gravy though.
And like a corn. You know
Mashed
what
potato and squash for me. All right.
I mean? Winter squash, right? Butternut.
Yes.
Right.
What tradition do you follow?
Lately? Hanging out at WBBF in the morning when Joey does the morning wake-up news and the football game.
Yeah,
We've been doing that for the last 7 years. The old tradition, we used to go to the football game.
I will say running the board for the football game.
Yeah.
And
So,
Sean?
I would just. We kind of, this was a different type of year because my dad's Alzheimer's. We weren't able to go to their house. Our tradition is going out to restaurants, which I really don't like, to be honest with you. But going out to restaurants is our big tradition. But it used to be going to the football game many moons ago. But yeah, I would say just going out to a restaurant and being with my family.
you know what's fun to watch is when we're driving around and Joey kept seeing my head poke around and stuff like that. Seeing all the restaurants that are like closed. Because not many places close. There's only like Christmas and Thanksgiving where places would normally be closed. The rest of the year they're always open. So now you're looking at the restaurants. We looked at a restaurant, it was in Raynham, forgot the name of it, when we were going to our Thanksgiving dinner. And it was about 1:30 and we come back rolling about 6 and it was closed. So meaning they wrapped up by say 4 or 5 and all the Dunkin' Donuts and the coffee shops, they closed by 12.
And CVS closed their pharmacies at 2 o'clock. Also.
Right. There's and then some places you can have Thanksgiving at the convenience store, or you can have Thanksgiving at the gas station, get yourself a Snickers bar, and whatever. But I mean, it's funny because you always think about the people who are not having dinner, where they're going. They gotta get a hot dog at the become Lamont or whatever.
Well, and it makes me think about just a quick 30-second transition. I think we made over 400 meals for families with food insecurity at St. Vincent de Paul.
nice.
I think they did over 400. I didn't get the exact number from
great.
David, but over 400 meals. And they're also doing it for Christmas meals.
That's
so,
awesome. Good.
but it's sometimes I feel I grew up. My mother's a waitress, so I feel bad that people have.
My mother was a waitress for
I
years.
didn't realize, 40 years my mother was a waitress.
My mother was too.
Yeah, she did 20 years in Boston, in Malden, a place called Carol's, and then she did 20 years in a restaurant right on the water in the hot Massachusetts called the Tides.
Yeah.
And she did very, very well for herself.
My mother worked at the Bridgeway in Hummerock.
That's Hull, correct?
No, it's part of Situate, but it's
Okay.
really in Marshfield. It's on the Marshfield side of Hummerock. Hummerock's technically Situate. She used to work at a place called Casa Barini's in Marshfield, but now it's a daycare center that was right on 3A. She used to live at a place called Pappas's in Tarpon Springs, Florida. Bill's Lighthouse. She was everywhere. She lived in Florida for the longest times too, but and then she worked for O'Doyle's Irish pub in Palm. Where was it? It was in Oldsmar, and she was 78 that she did that. So that was the last of her. So when she was 78,
She was working at 78.
she was
God
part
bless
time
her.
at
Wow.
that
God
point.
bless her.
Yeah,
That's
she
incredible.
yeah,
God
she
bless
was
her.
working at 78.
Wow.
And I've learned a lot from her about, she'd be hard on the waitresses, but she'd always tip them. Even if it's the worst service in the
My
world,
mother was the same way.
she'd still tip them. And I'm like, well, if he said, you gotta tip them. I mean, I just got that torture on them. They give them something.
Yeah.
They gotta go home with some money. Maybe they'll learn.
Yeah.
Maybe, my mother was a little rough edge because she was so good and professional about things. If she saw something on a line, it's just like, you should take pride in your job, whatever you do.
Yeah.
If you don't take pride in your job, time to get another job.
My mom, when she was at the Tides, the Jack Bongiorno, the Bongiornos owned it for years, and then when he retired, when he passed away, actually he was like still working and he passed away, and his kids just drove it into the ground. They weren't interested in the restaurant business, or at least that's the folklore. I don't know what the actual facts are, but at one point in time, waiters, when they would break dishes, he was charging for the dishes. And my mother wanted nothing to do with that whatsoever. They actually went to court, and I think they settled out of court. But he was a tough manager. But my mother did not want to be involved in that. But she was the same thing, Don. She would give 20%, even if the waiter or waitress wasn't is up to her standard. She would always give 20%, and then if they were above that standard, she would give between 25 and 30%. It's a tough. Being a waiter or a waitress and dealing
my
with
mother
people
always
is
gave
tough.
30%.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a really, really tough job.
Are we still marinating, Joey?
Yeah, we're marinating. Are we off past?
All right.
We got more questions?
We will talk about the high school football after the news break.
We also with the Paul notes?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
We're heading towards
Happy Thanksgiving, Paul.
So remember, Swampscott played at Fenway. Swampscott was at Fenway against. Did they play against Fairhaven? No, they played a playoff game against Fairhaven that they got blown out like 42-13, and then they lost. Oh, excuse me, what am I even talking about? Marblehead. It's one of the oldest rivalries in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They got blown up by Marblehead. They gave them 80 points, Don and Joey. 80 points in 2 games.
We'll be talking
But I still love
about
Swampscott because Dave Portnoy is from Swampscott.
We'll be talking about all of that coming up in the next segment. Before we take our news break, blood drives. We got 2 to talk about in the month of December, as we're now in the month of December. We have Saturday, December 7th at the Dorothy L. Beckwith Middle School, 330 Winthrop Street in Rehoboth, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for that blood drive. And Tuesday, the 31st of December at Cohannet Community Health Center, 5 Wallen Kruger Way in Bridgewater, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for that blood drive. And if you're unable to make these blood drives, there are several blood donation centers, one in Kingston, and I believe there's one in Raynham as well. And so if you're unable to make these 2 blood drives, definitely check out the blood donation centers as well. If you're able to give blood, definitely do so. It's extremely important as the Red Cross is dealing with and has continued to deal with low blood supply. There are also new rules about who can give blood as well. There's now testing for exposure to mad cow disease as well, which was a huge issue in the 80s and caused a ban on donation of blood for anyone who may have been exposed to that in the 80s. Or is it the 80s? It might have been the 80s. Or maybe even sooner than that, 70s, 80s. But there's now screening for that, and they were able to detect that easier. And so now people can give blood as well with that, or for that. So a lot of things going on with blood drives, and we'll continue to talk about the blood drives as we go on here every single week. And yeah, there's plenty more to talk about, sure, as we move on throughout the month and into next year. All right, it is 7:30, just about 7:30 here. We're going to take our news break, and when we come back, we'll have Thanksgiving football in the state of Massachusetts. What happened during that week, this past week? We'll talk about that and more on WBBF 1330 AM 99.7 FM Middleboro in review. I am Joey Driscoll. We'll be right back.
You did a great job, Joey. You know one of my favorite Richard Pryor movies? Did you ever see Busted Loose?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It resonated with me. I don't know why. And it became a TV show for like 12 episodes. But Richard Pryor wasn't in anything. But
Oh, there was that program.
yeah, it lasted for like 12 episodes. They tried that. They tried it with Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It failed. They tried it with Animal House and it failed because they just couldn't be as. But Richard Pryor
couldn't be edgy.
couldn't be edgy. Exactly. Richard Pryor was supposed to be in Blazing Saddles. He was supposed to be the sheriff.
Oh,
And what
okay.
happened was he was doing so much drugs at the time that they couldn't trust him. They couldn't trust him. And when they made Stir Crazy, because I was obsessed with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
Stir Crazy, the one with the
The prison.
yeah.
When they made that, Sidney Poitier was the director. That ended up making over $100 million
Really?
in 1980. It was a blockbuster in the theaters, you know, with a success commercially, and it was so difficult to work with it because it was chronically late. Gene Wilder was telling
What was the
story.
last name? Movie City Pie. He played with Richard Gere. Remember that movie? What was it? With
I
Bruce
love Richard
Willis?
Gere.
With Bruce Willis?
Now, this is a question. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I agree. It's very controversial. People get very upset. I'm serious. I'm like, yes, it's absolutely a Christmas movie. When you mentioned that architect, the Japanese architect, I immediately thought of that building when you were talking because that was such a good movie.
Yeah, no.
He's not doing well.
Cool.
Bruce Willis, according to
Yeah,
him.
no,
It's
he's
sad. It's really, really sad.
What was the last movie he did? He did like, one of his last movies, what was it?
Death Wish was one of the last
Yeah,
ones.
Death Wish. He did the,
That was all right for a remake. That was
good.
decent.
You know what? They didn't try to go over the top.
No, they
of it.
didn't.
I think it was really good.
You know what I mean?
I enjoyed it. No, I definitely watched it on Netflix. I definitely
Because a
enjoyed
lot
it.
of the originals did went over the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was,
Well, when you mean they got into like 4 and 5.
The mechanics are good remake too.
I
The
think
Jason Statham one.
4 and 5 was most ado, but 3 was off the lunch. It was fun to watch, but 1 and 2 was normal. 3 was off the lunch. And
Superman
It was
3.
5 of them.
Superman
Yeah.
3 was Superman 3.
5 was the last Charles Bronson movie.
I like Charles Bronson.
No, it wasn't.
Movie. He did like Family of Cops. He did like a.
That's a movie.
No, it wasn't a program. It was more like made for TV.
It's still a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, but I'm talking about feature in the movies.
I don't know what Sidney Poitier is to get back to that. I don't know what his last movie was. But he was talented.
Jackal.
The Jackal. Yes. That was with Bruce Lee. He was in that? Did he play
Yeah.
an FBI guy?
No, he played.
You know who was in the Jackal? What's his name? Jack Black.
Yeah,
Remember he blew his arm off?
yeah.
That was a good. I thought that was. Am I
Yeah.
confusing movies?
No, because Bruce Willis was the villain.
That was an
It was
underrated
like
movie.
move over.
You know what's an
Leon, move over.
Yeah, yes.
Right,
You
yeah.
know what's an underrated movie was Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams. Did you ever see Nighthawks?
The cops.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought it was underrated.
Isn't there a scene there in New York and he's
Yes.
hanging from that
Yes,
tram?
yes, yeah. Is that the one that goes out to Roosevelt
Yeah,
Island?
yeah. I want to
Did
go
you not
on
like
that.
it?
I remember it was good. I just, you know, it's just one movie.
I love movies. See, my dad, I get my love of movies from my dad. My dad had no boundaries, Joe. He was taking me to see, like, I'm talking about, like, I saw Animal House when I was 10 years old.
My father
He took
took-
me to see The Exorcist.
My father took me to see The Warriors.
So did my dad. Now that to me is a cult classic.
Yeah.
I was pretending I was Ajax. I love the character Ajax.
I was the coolest kid in school when I told all the kids, and with the teachers, like, you know, then she gave me, you found out. You know, you should.
Well, think about how edgy that was.
Oh, yeah.
Warriors,
Yeah.
come out to
Yeah,
play.
that was good.
That was such. Did you ever see the Warriors, Joey?
No,
See,
but
my son-
my uncle really liked the Warriors.
My son was he's your age. You're 25, right?
Yeah.
He's your age. And when I showed him the Warriors, I showed him when it was my age. He was very disappointed. He goes, "Yeah, this movie didn't age well." I'm like, "Son, back in the day, this was such a good those Yankees players chasing them through them through the park and stuff." And Ajax, I'll never forget. He turns around. I'm going to take that baseball bat and turn you into a popsicle. I thought that was the most I thought that was a great line.
Yeah.
Can be checked out just like books. Libraries in Kansas City and Milwaukee are part of the American Heart Association's program providing blood pressure stations or take-home kits. And
Yeah, so you like movies, and you like good TV shows too. Like, there was a show I wanted to talk to you were talking about. I wanted to call in, but I can't keep calling in. But there's a show you were talking about, and I was like, I loved that show, and I can't remember what it was. But you were talking about Meatballs one day. That to me is such a Meatballs.
Yeah.
It's so underrated. I thought that was such a good movie.
Oh, well, I saw that in my
It
father's
just doesn't matter. It just doesn't. Did you ever see The Bodyguard?
Yeah,
Also?
yeah.
With the same kid, by the way,
Yeah.
that was in Meatballs.
And then, you know, the bodyguard himself, he was Pyle in Full Metal
Yes,
Jacket.
yes.
What's his name? Who's Pyle? Vitelfo or whatever. Vincent. You know what I'm talking
Vincent Afranio?
Yeah, no.
Franio?
No. Franio.
I'm sorry, I don't know how
He
to
doesn't know
pronounce
you
his
take
name.
Splendor in your coffee.
It's kind of hard to pronounce his name.
He was talking about Yacht Rock this morning, which was pretty cool.
Actually, I want to talk about it. Yeah. Talk about
But I think that's affected. Documentary.
Swampscott Marblehead, I think the oldest rivalry in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is Malden Medford.
it. 3, 2, 1, and 0. And we're back. So I turned the bumper music down. There we go. It is 7:36 a.m.
Bump up.
We are back here on Middleboro Review. We're going to get to quite a bit here in this last segment. So let's get going. Our Massachusetts high school football scores for Thanksgiving week. I say week because some games I'm going to mention here were played on Wednesday. Some games were played other days. I don't have the days some of these were played, but the ones I do mention were probably played on some days rather than Thanksgiving Day. So let's talk about some of them. We're not going to talk about all of them because there's 7 million of them, but we're going to talk about most of them here. First one I want to mention, Mountain is going to Nantucket. Nantucket winning 22-14. Next one, Worcester South versus Worcester North. South winning that one 42-12. The next one I want to mention, Boston Latin played twice. They played on Thanksgiving against Boston English, and they played O'Brien. Boston Latin winning 20-14 in that one.
Wait a minute, they had 2 games?
Yes.
How close to each other? That's like,
I believe probably one of them was at Fenway.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bowl game. That was a
What do you mean a bowl
A
game?
playoff game.
playoff
maybe,
game,
yeah.
right?
Might have been a playoff game.
Well,
I'm not
because
sure.
the turkey games are just turkey games.
Yes.
I don't. Do they count? They don't count, do they?
Well, no, because at that point in time, you're already because
Season's over.
the selections for the postseason are already made. I mean, they're going to Gillette this weekend, right? Is it the Super?
It's gonna be this week.
This weekend. So
Thursday through Saturday.
But you know, it was funny. I remember Father Bill Schmidt, because we used to go to Mass before football games in Swampscott. And I remember him saying the only score of every game you remember in high school is your senior year. And I remember we beat Marblehead that year, 14-0. And he's right. I can't tell you the score of any other game, but I can tell you Swampscott High School.
The Thanksgiving game that didn't count.
A Thanksgiving Day game. Well, back then it did count, 'cause it didn't have the playoffs. I don't like this whole playoff system. I think it's absurd. It's in my opinion, it was very close. You know, the MIAA coaches that voted, it was like 52 to 48. It was very, very close because you have teams making playoffs that have like a record. My son made it when he played the DR. They were like 2-6, and they made the playoffs. I'm like,
I think every game should count.
Yeah.
I think for some reason
Yeah.
that Thanksgiving,
I
you
agree.
know, it should count for something. Even if they do the playoffs, it should be a breaking for next year.
Yeah.
Or,
And
or
you know what?
something.
Some of them
Yeah.
do count. Some of them do count. Some of them are for league titles.
yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them do
That
count.
is true. That's
Yeah.
true. Because that year in 1986, going way, way back, like Michael J. Fox and Back to the Future, we knocked Marblehead out of the end. Not only did we beat them on Thanksgiving, but we knocked them out of the NEC. They did not win the conference championship because of that. Because back then, like I said, we didn't have playoffs. They had the Super Bowl, but they didn't have that like pausing in the middle of the season to have playoffs. It's a bizarre
Well,
setup.
they got to get it. I mean, I can see that too because now they're in December, right before
yeah.
all the snows come. You know,
Yeah.
We talked about traditions. I'm a traditionalist. I think it should be the way that it was. I just think that, but it was a very close vote. I was told, like really, really close with all the coaches across the Commonwealth. It was like, I believe it was like I said, either 55 or 45% It was a very, very close vote. To either keep it the way that it was or go to this new type of system.
All right. We get to some of the. I think this is now Thanksgiving games. East Boston versus Chelsea. East Boston no longer plays South Boston as of a couple of years ago. One of the games got canceled due to lack of players. But East Boston, I guess, now plays Chelsea. East Boston winning 32-7.
well, they save toll money.
Yep. Somerset Berkeley against Central. Central over Somerset Berkeley 42-28.
What's Central? I don't even.
Central. I have to look that
I
up.
don't even. I've
actually.
never even heard of that. That's.
I have to look that up.
Don't worry about it. No worries.
I mean,
Can you look up how your father takes his coffee too?
Bishop Stang versus Bishop Feehan. Bishop Feehan winning 27-7. We have St. John's of Shrewsbury over losing to Malden Catholic 30-7. We have Old Colony versus Tri-Colony. Old Colony winning 40-0. West Bridgewater and East Bridgewater. This is a game I mentioned a couple of times. I mentioned it during the morning wake up news, I believe, on Thursday morning. This game, it's the first time these two teams have fought since the 70s. And it ended pretty feistily. There was a fight that broke out with 2 minutes and 38 seconds left in the game, and the game ended.
Wow.
Yeah, the game was called. East Bridgewater winning 36-14. And
first time
yeah.
in decades, and there's a fight.
Yeah.
Figure that one out. That's probably why they haven't been playing.
Greater Lowell and Lowell Catholic. Lowell Catholic losing to Greater Lowell 40-6. This is the one. Now we're going to talk about the one Chuck's been waiting for. Marblehead versus Swampscott. Marblehead winning 42-6.
Yeah. I was sad.
Wah,
by that.
wah,
Yeah,
wah.
yeah. The Magicians against the Big Blue. The Marblehead Magicians against the Big Blue. It's one of the oldest rivalries in the state. It's very, very close. I think Marblehead has maybe, but Marblehead's been kind of manhandling us. And actually, Peter Bush Jr., who's the coach, I had his dad. He's not a junior. Peter Bush. His dad was Bill Bush. Was one of my high school coaches. Great guy. Great family. Strong family. And Swampscott also had Steve Dombrowski, who's one of the youngest winningest coaches in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Steve left Swampscott High School, went to Milton High School, and turned their program around. I don't know how Milton did in the Super I think his first or second year there, he took Milton to the Super Bowl. That hadn't been there in years. So Swampscott's got a long tradition of football. So go Big Blue.
Andover versus North Andover. North Andover winning 20-16. The next one we have, this is another one I mentioned during my Thanksgiving morning wake up news sports segment. Lynn Classical versus Lynn English. 28-6. Lynn English winning. I saw a crazy score with that. That ended up being wrong. I saw a 66-6 score with that game, but that of course ended up being wrong. We have Boston. We have BC High versus Catholic Memorial. Catholic Memorial winning 31-19. We have Northbridge versus Uxbridge. Uxbridge winning 35-14. Don.
Yeah. Nice.
And Uxbridge is going to the Super Bowl. Do they call it the Super Bowl? I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, Uxbridge is going to the Super Bowl.
Uxbridge
That
is
is
going,
that's an unfortunate result there for Northbridge. We have a friend of ours who
You
lives in
working your way to Milton, and I mean,
We are.
not Milton. You're working your way to Middleboro.
Well, you know, my
are.
wife grew up
We
in
are.
Uxbridge. She's an Uxbridge gal.
Is she?
So, yeah, she did. Yeah.
We are. So next one we got is Peabody and Saugus. Peabody winning 33-7. Middleboro versus Carver, 38-6. Middleboro.
Wow.
Still a blowout.
Wow.
Still a blowout. I was expecting a closer game, but unfortunately that.
What
was
year?
not the case
What
here.
year did you do the color commentary with?
I believe that was
Aaron?
2019.
All
I
right.
believe that was 2019.
He did a perfect job. He didn't. He got thrown into it, right? But less is more.
Yes.
I mean, Ed ran awesome. You know, I mean, he worked here for the radio station. He trained Joey. You know what I mean? He's the one who he took Ed's spot, you know, on Sundays. So he trained Joey, and they worked great together because obviously Ed did it more. You know what I mean? And Joey just throwing stuff in. It was just like I told him too before we went. Less is more. Sometimes less is more, and he did it. He nailed it perfect. I was so proud of him.
That was before 2019. You said you did it.
Yeah, that was the last actually the last football game we went to.
All right, we have Pembroke and Silver Lake. Pembroke winning 29-13. We have Revere versus Winthrop. Winthrop winning 25-0. Lowell versus Hanover. Lowell winning 15-13.
Lowell and Hanover.
Lowell and Hanover. Yes.
No one took a bus ride.
I hope they won because that's a long bus ride if you lost.
I remember there was Middleboro was playing. I think they were playing not Barnstable. They were playing Yarmouth, and Joey and I went to the game, and they lost by like a point. You know, I was like, that's gonna be the longest bus ride back to the Cape.
Joey, your dad and I want to hear the ones like the hard to pronounce Massachusetts names like Leominster versus Leominster and places like
We're
that.
going to be getting to that.
Haverhill. You know, it's funny.
Billerica.
You listen to some of the national news, and they talk about these towns.
Yes,
and
yes.
Butcher.
Worcester. The
Yeah,
National News said Worcester.
They-
Literally, I think it was my mother loves him. He's on Channel 5 on 6:30 at National News.
Yep.
I can't think of his name, but he.
Right.
Joey, just a quick thing. Are you guys aware of what happened in? This is right out of the Brady Bunch. What happened in Fairhaven in Dartmouth? How a Dartmouth player got in to steal the defensive plays of the high school of Fairhaven High School.
Wow.
Google it. It's like it was a big thing, and the superintendent of Dartmouth. John's looking at me like incredulity. It's like the Brady Bunch.
Right.
They attempted to steal Fairhaven's defensive plays.
What, did that happen on the Brady Bunch?
Yes, don't you remember when Marsha's the fake boyfriend was coming over
Oh.
to steal Greg's?
Oh.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I wasn't interested in Marsha.
Marsha.
But as far as the tough words, I said to Joe when he started doing the news, because some of these last names are like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And I said, Joey, go online and try to get the name and try to hear someone else talking. Go on YouTube and hear someone else saying the name. And once you hear someone else saying the name or the town or whatever, then that's probably the right part because you kind of want to get it right.
So it's not Billerica?
It's not. No,
No, it's not
Bill
Haverhill.
Rickle.
It's not Haverhill.
It's not Leominster?
It's not Leo
Bill
Minster. It's not
Ricka. Here we
Worcester.
go. East Longmeadow versus Longmeadow. Longmeadow winning 7-6.
You didn't even know what East Longmeadow is. You know what Longmeadow is. You don't even know. You have no clue, do you?
I mentioned the ones that are crosstown.
Ask Scott. Scott's listening. Ask Scott. He knows where it is. Ask him.
Yes, so Scott, if you're listening,
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. Where's Longmeadow and West
Yeah.
Longmeadow? You tell me where?
Westwood and Holliston. Westwood winning 32-6. Cardinal Spellman versus Archbishop Williams. That's a big one. Archbishop Williams winning 34-20. Taunton versus Milford. That's the game that we broadcasted here on Jovi Revia, 15:30 a.m.
And-
on Wednesday
and
15:30 a.m.
Yes.
I got it. Yeah.
But you know what? He came in Wednesday night to do the game, and usually, you know,
classic game.
yeah. I mean, he
Too.
was like at the edge of the seat. I said, "Joe, you all right?"
Classic.
He's
That was
good.
it. That was a
Yeah,
All right,
classic.
all right, I'm
Tell
saying
me
we're
to
being
shut up.
enough. Who won? Who was the winner?
Milford.
Milford beat Taunton.
42 to
Oh.
41.
Wow.
Taunton missed a 2-point conversion.
Now, you were saying, why didn't they kick? Why didn't they kick?
Why didn't they kick the extra point?
It would have tied the game.
It would have tied the game. They would have went to overtime. Yes, you know, there's a risk to that. You know, you might lose the coin toss, and then Milford could have went down the field and scored.
Yeah,
anyway.
but I mean, they could have stopped him and got 3 points.
Exactly.
You know?
No, exactly. But yeah, but they wanted to go for the win, and that was a risk that they wanted to take, and it didn't pan out this time.
That was a good game, and
It was.
it repeated Thursday too, so people got to listen to
Absolutely.
it live Wednesday night. And Joey came in, and we were here like 8:30. It's the only time I'm gonna be here at night,
All right.
but that's why the FM comes in, man.
Does it have
Yes.
a different flavor at night versus day?
I think so. Yeah, being in the studio, yeah.
All right. Norwood Dedham. Norwood winning 35-13. Bridgewater Raynham versus Brockton. Brockton winning 21-14. Marshfield and Duxbury. Marshfield winning 51-14.
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds like NBA.
Weymouth and Walpole. Don, you were in Walpole last night. Walpole won 35-12. Dighton Rehoboth against Seekonk. Seekonk over Dighton Rehoboth 53-13.
Oh.
Wow.
At least that's a short bus ride. I don't know where they play, but if they play
Well.
in Seekonk, Dayton, Rehoboth, if they play in Seekonk, that's a short bus ride. Because I wouldn't want to go from Hanover to
That's 118. Who's
Correct.
118? Yeah.
correct.
Boston English versus Boston Latin. Boston English winning 28-12. Bellricka versus Chelmsford.
No.
Chelmsford winning 28-21.
Joey, that's Billy Ricky.
Billy Ricky. The Whitman Hanson Panthers losing to Abington, the Green Tide.
The Green Wave.
The Green Wave.
That's what's your
The Green Wave.
mascot?
Is that
The
what it
Green
said?
Wave,
Tide?
yeah. No,
No, it's
the Green
I
Wave.
thought it was the Green Tide.
we
The
had a-
Tide?
yeah, no,
No, it's the Green Wave.
it's the Green
I
Wave.
apologize.
Wave.
I apologize. I don't know all of my Massachusetts high
Oh,
school.
you
football.
better.
And you don't know how your father takes his coffee, so
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Abington winning 18-6. Stoughton Canton. That was a game that a lot of people were talking about, and Canton won 36-6.
Yeah, we were talking about that because we had Thanksgiving dinner in Stoughton, and
At the town spa. Come on.
no, I was closed that day. No,
We have Lowell.
there's Stoughton, and my cousin's daughter went to the game, and then she had to get picked up like an hour later because of the weather. You know?
We have Lowell versus Haverhill. Lowell versus Haverhill. Lowell winning 34-32. We have Apponequet versus Old Rochester, 26-14. Apponequet winning. Here's one that I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciation on, but I want to try it. Tantasquia. I probably butchered the name. I apologize. Anyone from that area?
Squire.
Yeah.
Is that like the Susquehanna Hat Company from the Three Stooges? I've never heard of that.
And Shepherd Hill and Tantasquia winning that one 40-16.
Joe, you sure you're in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
Yes,
Okay.
say it.
Probably out. Who knows? I mean, there's 351
I don't
towns in
think about that.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Such a small state.
Plymouth North versus Plymouth South. Plymouth South winning 19-7. Wareham versus Bourne. Bourne winning 47-6. Ouch. Hingham versus Situate. Situate winning 37-7. Mansfield versus Foxborough. Mansfield winning 21-7. Foxborough sat their starters, I'm assuming.
Yeah, because they're going Saturday to the. They're
going
yeah.
bowling as well.
I think their head coach Martinelli is the winningest coach in Massachusetts history, or one of them. He's been around forever.
You know all the coaching names. I mean, you definitely
yeah.
dial in over
Yeah.
there.
Well, I coached in the '90s in Norton. I hope Norton won. No, they lost it. there.
Football?
Yeah.
High school football?
Yeah, high school football.
Yeah.
In the
A game that
90s.
was unfortunately canceled, and I believe this was due to lack of players. Poetry. I guess that's the
Poultry is chicken.
I apologize. Versus Middlebury. That game was canceled. That actually made the news. I believe that particular.
There was
But
only
didn't
like-
Millbury play somebody else or something like that?
What?
Didn't Millbury play somebody else?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other team only had like 12 players or 13 players.
Yeah.
Or something like that,
Fitchburg versus Leominster. Leominster 46-7 win.
But it is so funny that national news people,
Yes.
national news people butcher our names. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
listen to some, go on and type in YouTube, and try to just get the name straight. That's what I tell him, and he nails it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds.
Franklin versus King Philip. King Philip winning 27-21.
Who is King Phil?
King Philip.
That's Rentham.
Rentham.
I'm leaving something. Plainville. And then
No,
I
it's
think
right.
King Philip?
Yep.
Oh,
Falmouth.
it's in Rentham.
It's in
But
Rentham.
what schools is it? It's made up, I think, of a couple of towns because it's King Philip Regional High School.
Like
but-
Norfolk?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I know Rentham and Plainville. I think it's Rentham and Plainville, and maybe one other.
Falmouth Barnstable. Barnstable winning 34-0.
Wow.
Danvers Gloucester. Danvers winning 29-13. We have Joseph Case versus Atlantis. Case winning 43-6.
Not Joseph Driscoll.
No.
Now,
Nope.
Atlantis is a charter school in Fall River, and Case is. We don't. For some reason, we don't name our school. Well, most of our high schools do not have personal names. Case is one of the few that I can think of. I don't know if you can rattle off other ones, but it's usually like Marblehead High School or Hanover High School.
Daniel Webster in Marshall.
Okay, there you go.
Dartmouth.
It's Daniel Webster High School.
No.
I'm talking about high schools.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Dar-
You're getting technical over here.
Dartmouth Fairhaven. Dartmouth winning 21-16. Oliver Ames over Sharon 21-0. Braintree losing to Milton 31-0. Attleboro versus North Attleboro. North Attleboro winning 38-8. BP over losing to Blue Hills. I apologize, not over Blue Hills. Losing to Blue Hills 22-6. And Don, where is Blue Hills?
Blue Hills is in Canton.
There you go. And Don, this is the one you've been waiting for.
Overlooking Big Blue.
Yes, this is the one you've been waiting for. Actually, before we get to that, Medford Malden, Medford 34-14.
So Medfa?
Meffa, that's another one.
Medford.
Meffa. I believe, Joey, and John, I said this off radio. I think it's the oldest rivalry in. I think it's the oldest continuous. This might be true. You have to fact check this. I believe I read that it's the oldest continuous football game, Thanksgiving in the history in the country.
Here's a fun fact. Norman Greenbaum is from Medford, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I love that
Wow.
song. That's a great song.
Yeah.
I can't sing it. I want to sing it though. I have impulsivity issues.
All right,
What happens is
Here we go.
the ASCAP boys here come up for the sale and repel and take you away.
Don, here we go. Quincy Presidents versus North Quincy. What's the name of the North Quincy team now?
It used to be
Did
the
they
Red
change?
Raiders.
Yeah.
Now it's the Red Wagons or something.
Something else, yeah. North Quincy, the former Red Raiders winning. The former Raiders winning against the Quincy Presidents 43-41.
My sister was a cheerleader in 1981 for the Red Raiders.
There you go.
Severian gets defeated by St. John's Prep. Severian is another team that will be going bowling. 23-6.
What do you call it bowling? What do you call it bowling?
Bowling,
Super bowling.
bowl game,
Oh,
super
yeah.
bowling. Yes, whatever. You know, they're going for a championship. Let's see what else we got. Durfee and New Bedford, 26-6. Durfee winning, and East Hampton versus Northampton. East Hampton winning 18-8. There you go.
Nice.
There you go. That's
There
all.
you get sports.
And we have 2 minutes to go. So, real quick.
Can I just say something
Yes.
real quick?
Yes.
Real quick?
Real quick. Yes.
I love the idea of high school football. I've said it before. It's the tradition, and you got to put your hats off to the players. I mean, I know what I like the idea of playing on Thanksgiving, but I understand we'll do it at night or whatever.
Yeah.
But I love the idea because a player. You played
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I mean, we're sitting next.
it's-
I've never played, so we're sitting next to living legend there.
In my own mind.
But how did you feel when you went home and had Thanksgiving after doing that? The pride you had because you played. 1986, the last time you played high school football, probably 14 degrees out, or whatever it was. It was probably cold.
Actually, the particular day we played, it was 55 degrees.
Okay.
And
Well,
the year before, when I was a junior, we played in Marblehead. We had a snowball. We lost 6-0, and it was a snowball. We had about 3 or 4 inches on the ground.
that's why it was just 6-0. You know, because
Yeah,
you couldn't get on the
exactly.
score. But I mean, you got to hand it to all the kids who play, that they must feel so great when they're having their meal. And like I earned my supper.
Yeah.
I earned my supper. I was either I could have been on TV, or and my family was out waving me on, but
I
digress.
used to remember Mike Lynch from Swampscott. He was Channel 5 sports announcer for years and years and years, and they would all do that. Bob LaBelle would do it, but when they put those scores up, it
Yeah.
would be on television. That was almost like the school cancellations, because back in the day, Don, when school was canceled, we had to listen to Gary LaPierre on WBZ
Yep.
10:30.
Yep.
So it was the same thing. You didn't have the internet access.
The only time I was up at 5:30 in the morning on a school day, waiting for the cancellation. Sorry, Joe.
Now they call 3 days in advance.
It's only your show. I'm sorry.
7:59 a.m. We're gonna say thank you, Chuck, for being here once again. We'll see you again.
Sometime in January. It's a blessing to be here with both of you guys. A
Okay.
real blessing. The highlight of my week.
Yeah.
Here.
That's a yeah.
The highlight of my week.
Hold on, I gotta check.
Yeah, you know what? We could check off air because
Well,
sure
we got 10 seconds.
No.
Let me check.
Yeah, let everyone know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let me check.
Yeah, I'll let you check.
We have
Check.
Sunday, January the 5th.
Awesome.
All right, so we'll see you then.
2025.
Yes,
Keep you
January
alive.
the 5th,
You know, so.
2025. And,
I always we love having you here. It's such
Love
a
to
fun
be here.
show, and it
We'd
was
love
good
to be
that
here.
you were here after Thanksgiving because you're the football guy. You're just a
And,
football coach, football player.
I gotta go.
all this,
I gotta
all
get some
that.
coffee with Splendor in it though before I go.
and I'll be back on the air once again for another edition of Middleboro Matters
More
tomorrow
sports.
morning.
With-
For more sports, exactly.
With Eric Dunn, yeah.
You know, maybe we'll have news on Juan Soto and where he's going. Maybe we'll have news on the Bruins and how they did today. Hopefully they get the win today. This is a very big game for the Bruins. Patriots, maybe we have some good news there.
What time is that on, Joey? What time?
Which one?
Your show
Bruins are
tomorrow. No, your show. Your
11 a.m.
11 a.m. tomorrow.
11 a.m. tomorrow, Middleboro Matters. So stay tuned for that. Me and Eric Dunn will be talking all about sports coming up tomorrow morning on Middleboro Matters. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.
That was fun. Good laughs.
Yeah, it's
I agree
sometimes
with you.
sometimes you have serious shows and sometimes you have fun shows. You gotta mix
This
it
was
up.
a fun show.
I agree with you on the football thing. I love tradition. I love anything tradition. I love tradition.
I didn't ever play it. So I mean, when you had your Thanksgiving dinner, when you would play the games, you worked for yourself. You know what I mean? You got up early.
Yeah, we did.
You got up early. You sat in the cold.
I think I was down the field at we always went 2 or 3 hours early because we'd listen to music and to walk
when
the
we
field
went,
and scratch.
when we went to the football games, no matter how cold it was, we always stayed. And he didn't mention it, but we always listened to Alice's Restaurant at 12 o'clock.
I love that one. That's such a great
I
story.
forgot all about it.
We and I have so much in common.
Scott said Berkshire's.
What?
While we were talking about one of the schools.
That's out of the
You asked,
probably right on the New York border.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Well,
said.
like you said, Don, 351 cities in town.
Yeah.
We're not a big state geographically when you think about it.
He also said Joe mispronounced it, but he's correct. I'm not sure what that is referred to.
Well, you need to go on the website for their city hall thing, and they'll say the name.
Exactly.
You know, welcome to the then you know it. You gotta hear someone else say it.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Weather permitting,
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition of Middleboro Matters. And and we'll be back next week for another edition of Middleboro in Review. On this page, we'll be back next week for another edition of Middleboro in Review.
Take care, John.
And bye. And on this page, we'll be back with another edition of Middleboro Review next week. And I'll have another edition of Middleboro Matters on the Middleboro Matters page tomorrow with Eric Dunn. We'll be talking about all about sports, what's going on sports-wise tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And bye-bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend, and go Patriots. Bye-bye.
Cabin for landing at 18,000 feet instead of 10.